No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Tuesday to you here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. My name is BJ Rains. We got Jay Tust, sports director at KTVB, with you for a Taco Bell Tuesday, a Tuesday with Tust. A lot of things going on today here at Bronco Nation News. We got some football to discuss. We got a little basketball as well. Make sure I'm not too hot here on the mic. I think we're good. A little basketball to discuss as well as we leave for Mountain West Media Days in Las Vegas, and the KenPom rankings are out, so definitely want to get to a little bit of basketball talk. I want to get Jay's perspective on the football game as well. Jay, happy Tuesday to you. Another beautiful morning in Boise, Idaho. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'll take it. You look glowing, by the way. You got your Hawaii tan on while you were there, obviously.
Yeah.
Some work and play. I don't have that luxury. It was beautiful in Boise, but how was Hawaii?
It was great, man. Good time. Good. We got some little bit of fun, and then Sunday we stayed the extra day on Sunday, which was great on Sunday. But I'm feeling it right now. Already getting ready to leave again for basketball media days. But we took the kids out on a little boat and had some fun, and it was a great couple of days there. And yeah, just pretty rare to get a mid-season trip for a couple of days. And as everybody knows, vacations aren't cheap. So when you have a work trip and you can companion pass it on Southwest and bring the kids along for free, that's kind of how our vacations are these days, I guess. So we're able to make it work, and it was a good time. But it was the work trip and got a lot out of that as well. And now back on the grind with basketball. But no, we saw a lot of Boise State fans. Shout out to Rodney Busby, True Blue Travel. There was about 35 people in their group on our flights both ways. Shout out to Ron Crow, also Tyler Crow's dad. He was the savior on the 5-hour flight from Hawaii. He walked up from the back of the plane and gave my kids a little box of Hawaiian chocolates. And so the kids loved that. And then sure enough, Tyler Crow's picking up his dad at the airport last night at midnight when we got in, and the kids were saying, "Good game, Tyler." And That doesn't surprise me. Of all the kids on the team that go make sure their dad gets a ride home after supporting him at the airport, there's Tyler Crow out there picking up his dad at midnight or whatever it was. But yeah, shout out to the Crows, and Ron came through with the candy, and the kids were quiet for the next hour, so I owe them big time.
That's what I honestly miss about the Marcus Shavers family. They would always have like those Hawaiian chocolates or whatever with the macadamia nuts in them.
Yes,
I don't know if you ever got a bag, but they would always have them.
Oh yeah. He had he had a huge box of like 10 big bag, like 10 of them. So he's just passing them out to random people. But the kids greatly appreciated it. And sure enough, they saw Tyler, waiting after there, and they told him good game. And it was very, very thankful for the Crow family for hooking up the boys. So
love it, man.
Here's to Tyler Crow, hopefully getting some more run here down the stretch. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got San Francisco checking in. We got Rodney Robinson up in Seattle. We got Bill in Southern California. So a lot of folks checking in from the West Coast this morning. Appreciate all of you for jumping in. As I mentioned, I do want to get Jay's perspective a little bit on the football game, but do want to talk a decent amount of basketball on this show because I've got Brad Bedell tomorrow, so we'll be football heavy tomorrow. And then Thursday, I will have Johnny, but we'll be deep into media day stuff on Thursday. So I want to get into the KenPom rankings that came out and some of the other basketball related stuff. Josh chiming in from Pensacola, Florida. Appreciate you, Josh. Of course, I knew Jordan would be pumped to talk some basketball today. Jay, the game on Saturday, a little closer for a while than it should have been. Very weird game. A lot of stoppages, a lot of delays, a lot of reviews, a lot of injuries, small stadium. And by the way, and they do this on purpose, but from the time they turn on the speakers, like 2.5 hours before the game, till the time the game kicks off, they play nothing but very slow, soothing Hawaiian music to try to lull the opposing team to sleep. And it may have worked. I mean, we're talking 30 minutes before the game. Players are out there, hitting full pads, full warm-ups, and it's like, luau music or whatever, super slow Hawaiian music. And it was just a very weird vibe. And I don't know if that played into it or what, but it was just a weird altogether vibe, weird game. And it had that feeling for a good chunk of the game. Like, oh, this is one Boise State. Who cares how, who cares what happens? Just find a way to win this one. And they were able to do that on Saturday in Hawaii.
Yeah. And that's why for me, those games happen. And the fact that Boise State was still able to find a way to, win it fairly comfortably, it seemed. I think that you take it and you move on and you get on with the next one. But to come out, of Hawaii with a 21-point victory, I don't know why. What does it matter whether it was 35-14 or 28-7 or 42-21? I don't know which one you would have liked more, but a 21-point road victory is a 21-point road victory, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it didn't feel like a 21-point road victory. A couple nice fourth quarter touchdowns there, and you're right. But I said this with Prater yesterday. I mean, no one's going to look back if they'd won by one. I mean, who cares? In a month, you're going to look back, and no one on the selection committee or whatever else is going to go, yeah, but they barely beat Hawaii. At least I don't think so. I mean, I think they're just going to say, yeah, they were 11-1 or they did this. Like, it was just one of those games where I don't think style points necessarily mattered. Would you have liked this been much easier, more relaxing game that fans could have turned off and gone to bed at halftime? Sure, but they didn't, and they couldn't, and it ended up being a nice game there going into the fourth quarter. The review was a big play. I think they got the call right, but where Ashton Jeanty was ruled down, and then Boise State ends up scoring there. I think it was the pass play to him on the next play, which made it 19, and then they went for the 2-point conversion and got to 21-7 at that point. That was early in the fourth quarter. If they don't call that, that's a big play, and all of a sudden Hawaii has the ball. And I think he put it on the ground twice in that game. I don't think either one of them counted, but that's another small story. All this contact, Jeanty's got to make sure he keeps holding on to the ball here. But either way, they got the call and they scored, and that was a huge play in the game.
Yeah, it was. I'm not really too concerned about Jeanty being a fumbler because he doesn't. You have to go all the way back to like North Dakota last year to find out like the last time that that was an issue. So you're right. He takes a ton of contact, and I actually thought you never want to talk about it because people are going to get after you for jinxing him if he does come up with a fumble. It is what it is. But he's been rock solid with all the physical contact that he takes in not turning the ball over this year. So that's a non-issue for me. I think that it's crazy how quickly we forget BJ. That was a game that it feels like, we say, Boise or Spencer Danielson always says you have to find a way to win a game, right? Good teams find ways to win games. And not only did they find a way to win the game, they found a way to win the game by 3 touchdowns. And it just wasn't that long ago where it seemed like Boise State would have found a way to almost lose that game, right? I don't think that they were great with adversity the last couple of years. And you look now, they're 5-1. They have a 21-point road victory at Hawaii, and they found a way to win it, and they found a way to win it going away. Their fourth quarter performances this year have been rock solid. Washington State, Hawaii, Georgia Southern, like especially on offense, their fourth quarter performances have been really, really good. And heck, I throw Oregon in there too. I know that they didn't necessarily come away with the victory that game, but there was a massive turnaround, and most of it happened late third, early fourth quarter where Boise State was playing pretty darn good. So it just wasn't that long ago where it seems like those were the moments where victories were fleeting for this Boise State football program. And I think that they have taken a massive step forward and now replicate or resemble, the Boise State of yesteryear, where they would finish games off like this.
I'm just glad Dirk Cutter finally listened to me and gave Ashton Jeanty 4 quarters of carries.
It's funny, you're watching that game and you're like, man, it's actually a lot better when Ashton Jeanty has to sit at halftime and not play the second half, because you can start writing your stories and everything.
They gave him
at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
First 4 plays of the game, he carried the ball, so you knew right away it was like, all right, this is going to be one of those games.
I mean, kind of. I think they braced for it, and like Spencer Danielson has told us like a number of times, like, whether it's a half, whether it's 4 quarters, whether it's 5 overtimes, like Ashton Jeanty will be ready to roll if the team needs him. And he proved that. 34 touches, a season high, 31 carries, tied a career high. The only time he's had more touches in a game was 36. He did it once last year. And so he just proved, like, if his team needs him, he's going to be ready to go. He'll carry the rock and the team on his back for that matter. And again, he takes another step closer to, I don't know if that's too dramatic to say, a step closer to the Heisman, but his odds now are down to plus 175, man. Like it is wild. He's plus 175 now. A few weeks ago, you had to add a 0 to that to, basically get closer to his Heisman odds. It's what he's doing is really incredible. And the nation's buying into it. It certainly seems.
Yeah, I will be at our sponsor Circa Las Vegas later this evening, and I can't wait to go over, and because they don't always do it's a little harder to find some of their odds. So I'm looking forward to going over to the sports book and seeing if they've got that listed and seeing what they've got it at right now, because it was at one point when we were there for football media days in July, plus 10,000 for Ashton Jeanty, and it's now down. I mean, there was a time, Jay, where he wasn't even on there. They started with Malachi Nelson. They had Malachi Nelson on the Heisman odds, and I say this jokingly because we love Circa and they're our sponsor, but like their sports book, I had to tell them, like, hey, you got the wrong guy on here. Like Ashton, if this team is good, it's going to be Ashton Jeanty. Not like nothing against Malachi Nelson. And that was when we still thought he might play. I still didn't think he'd have the type of season even if he started where he would be the one guy on the team that should be listed on the Heisman list over Ashton Jeanty. So not only were the odds plus 10,000 at one point, like there was a time earlier this summer where a lot of odds makers, including Circa, did not even have Ashton Jeanty on the ballot. You couldn't even vote for him. He'd be in the field, I guess, or whatever, probably would have been a even better odds maybe at some point. So it's crazy to see where it's come to now. And we'll see what this week off, what that does for the team, for him. Obviously it's not going to, hurt, but just to kind of, there'll be one weekend without any kind of buzz or clips on social media of them going crazy. And, they'll make up for it with that UNLV game. They're one of the only games on, here in 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to that one. And we'll see what Ashton can do. But it was nice to see him get out there and be ready to answer the bell. And I don't know if you saw my video or not, Jay, but I thought it was kind of cool. Darren Lee, the police officer, former linebacker, is now a police officer for the city of Boise. He's basically been added as and maybe you know more about this than I do, but he's basically been added as Ashton Jeanty's security guy for the rest of the season. And it was crazy to see, but probably a smart move by Boise State on the road here to make sure no one tries to do anything crazy.
Yeah, I had kind of heard about that, and I swear that I've seen him before. He said, what's that?
He was at the Georgia Southern game, I guess, and I don't know what I'm supposed to say or not say. I don't know, but the guy that's the longtime police officer that's been with the team is going to be retiring from that role.
He's been doing Darren Lee.
Yeah, and so Darren Lee will be taking over as the official kind of team security on the road, I guess, moving forward. And so this year they kind of wanted to let him kind of see what it's like and tag along for some of the games. And then I think they realized about midway through the season, you know what, we could use you actually to help out with number 2 here the rest of the way. So it sounds like he's going to kind of be right on Jeanty's right hip the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And Darren Lee, man, that guy, in the most complimentary of ways, was a psychopath on special teams. Like that guy had a heavy head. He had a heavy head, man. Like I that was like, you won't. I don't know if we'll see guys like Darren Lee on special teams anymore because the rules kind of discourage stuff like that. But that dude would run down on kickoff and absolutely annihilate people. And he was a really nice, quiet guy. Like he was a good dude. So like his demeanor on the field is kind of like almost like a Riley Wimpy, right? Like you meet him and you're like, oh man, what a nice guy. How could he possibly be mean? And then on the field, they just have apparently some type of alter ego. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I know you had a lot of good things down there. You had a lot of good stuff.
Can't go to the grocery store without a security detail. No, this is just mostly on the road. It's mostly just on the road, and maybe you're on the team hotel, and maybe if Jeanty were to walk the strip or something, which they don't really get to do in Vegas or something, that might be what we're talking about here. We're not talking about really necessarily in Boise.
There's also like wherever you go, Ashton he does really get a lot of attention. I mean, here at home or on the road, and fans want autographs, and Ashton's like super kind about it too, man. Like he stops and he takes pictures and he'll do selfies and he does a lot. But there's also a point in time where you got to get back to the locker room. And so I think it's another way too to make sure that there's somebody there that this kind of helps them in those moments. Like, hey, you got to go, buddy.
We had Winston Venable at Western Collective, House of Western for the away game watch party. A big crowd, too. Saw some of the videos, and appreciate Kip and Jaden and everybody down there for holding down the fort without myself or my wife on this game. But the away game watch party was a big success. Every away game, including the Las Vegas game in 2 weeks, head on down to House of Western, downtown Boise, Western proper, right there inside downtown Boise on Idaho Street, Bar National. They get former players in there as away game captains. Again, Winston Venable was hanging out last week for the Hawaii game, and you get food and drink specials, and 10% of the sales goes to support the Horseshoe Collective to support Boise State. So we'll see you down there for the UNLV game in 2 weeks. Hey, RoePaint.com, our title sponsor. Andy Rowe jumped on yesterday. ROEPaint.com. Check them out. RoePaint.com. Again, concrete coatings, whatever you're looking for on that, painting, interior, exterior, residential, commercial, industrial, all your painting needs. Support our title sponsor, RoePaint.com. Looking forward to the next episode of the Tyson Degenhardt Show. We're hoping to get some content this week down in Las Vegas at Media Days. Tyson's going to go into some of the scrums and do some interviews with some of the players and coaches from around the Mountain West, and I think that could be kind of funny and some good content. So Tyson Degenhardt, be ready for the next episode coming next week, I believe, the Tyson Degenhardt Show. And again, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher Real Estate, now part of the Boise State home team. BauscherRealEstate.com. Again, the Raines family sold and purchased our home using Matt and Kelly, Cade, Sarah, the whole crew there over the summer, and couldn't have been happier with the service. Number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley for a reason. Check them out online, BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, 13 locations across the state of Idaho, other surrounding states as well, whether it's the Cuno location, Middleton, Star, Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, McCall, all you name it. Ridley's Family Markets has you covered. When you walk in, you just get that hometown grocery store feel, friendly environment, great staff. Check them out. Find a location near you online at shopridleys.com. Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and Game, thespateam.com. You looking for a spa for the back patio? You looking for a pool table for the game room? Maybe it's a sauna. They got you covered at Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. Locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Make sure you check them out at thespateam.com. And Jay, don't forget on Saturday, folks can go meet some of the players we're talking about here. Ahmed Hassanin, Jonah Dalmas, Matt Lauder, and our friend Andrew Simpson will all be at Lithia Ford of Boise this Saturday. Go meet them this Saturday, 11 to 2 during the bye week. 11 to 2, Lithia Ford of Boise. No strings attached. You don't have to test drive a vehicle. Just go on in there, meet those guys, get pictures, autographs, check them out. They'll be passing out some mini footballs and things. So go take your family. Perfect time with no game this weekend. 11 to 2 on Saturday at Lithia Ford. Boise. All right, Jay, I do want to talk basketball, but I want to switch over to the defense for a few minutes here first. Again, they had the bad luck on the one. I know they're not bad luck, but it was ruled obviously as a incomplete pass. Shea Oladipo had a big play, I believe. But overall, still another game with no turnovers in the stat book for this defense. And we're looking at, one interception through 6 games. Literally the worst in the country. We're looking at 5 takeaways in 6 games overall. I mean, Jay, you look at some of these previous seasons, Boise State, has had over 30 turnovers in the season before. They've had just crazy numbers, and their goal is 3 turnovers a game. They're not even getting 1 a game right now. If this team really wants to be they're winning right now despite of it, but it is hard to win games consistently and to win close games when you're not getting, and I guess the only good thing is they're not really giving it up either. That's a positive. So they're not necessarily losing the turnover battle. They're just not winning it either. So, but I personally feel like they're going to have to start finding a way to get some takeaways. Some of these close games like UNLV, some of these games that you expect to be a close game, like they really could have used a big turnover in that Hawaii game. They really could have used something to, midway through that game to kind of spin things. So the lack of turnovers, it's a concern to me, but it's also just puzzling to me. I just don't get it. We've never seen it. They're on pace for the lowest total in program history in interceptions and total takeaways. They got a lot of playmakers out there, a lot of good players, but for whatever reason, the takeaways just aren't coming. And then that's leading to some of these other stats being poor in terms of giving up passing yards, things like that. So, I thought they deserved a lot of credit. I said it yesterday with Prater. There was a lot of times where you're like, oh, they just gave up another 3rd and long. Oh, another 3rd and long. And it didn't feel like it was going great. And then you look up, in the 4th quarter, and they've got Hawaii has 7 points and 230 yards. The overall numbers, the sacks ended up looking pretty nice. Defense deserves a lot of credit for how they played in that game. But I still don't understand why they can't get any more takeaways.
Yeah, it is a little puzzling. As long as they're not turning the ball over, that helps. Right now, they only rank 110th in the country in turnovers forced, right? But if you look at turnover margin, they're hovering right around the middle. Probably a little bit of upper half now that there's 134 FBS teams. But they rank 57th in the country in turnover margin per game. They're on the plus side barely. It's plus 1 or 0.17. So as long as they're not turning it over, it's not as pressing, but you do worry about a game where it's hard to go through a 12, 13, 14, 15 game schedule where you don't have one of those games where you have trouble taking care of the football. You have 4 of them. And what happens when that happens, right? How do you generate some turnovers? I guess the one thing that I'll say that, might mask it or help it a little bit is the fact that, you said that they're on pace to break the school record for fewest, interceptions and whatnot in the season. I believe for whatever reason, they don't have the team stat record in the media guide, but I have to imagine they're on pace to obliterate it. They already have 29 sacks. Heck, in I think 3 of the previous 4 seasons, maybe even 4 of the previous 5 seasons, they didn't eclipse 29 sacks in a season, and they're already there 5 or 6 games in, right? So their ability to put pressure on the quarterback and get home has been elite. But for whatever reason, it hasn't led to turnovers. And the thing that's really, again, kind of puzzling about that, if you're getting sacks, you're forcing teams into 3rd and long and more predictable situations, right? And you would feel that might lead to some more turnovers, but it hasn't necessarily with this team. And if anything, for whatever reason, it's almost the opposite of it. Boise State, again, 3rd and long against Hawaii, they weren't great. Hawaii converted a pretty good percentage of their 3rd and longs, but anything 3rd and manageable or 3rd and short, Boise State was great. So it is a really confusing, statistically at least, it's pretty confusing to look at and try to figure it all out. But, coming out of the bye, we'll see. Hopefully that they can take a step in that department, because I do agree. It feels like they're going to have to, down the stretch here. They're often, I tweeted this out during the game, BJ, like it was when the offense was, I'll say sputtering a little bit there for a while. It felt like it was the defense's opportunity to step up and get an interception or make a game-changing play. Didn't happen in that form. It happened in other forms. That possession at the end of the first half, where they just buried Hawaii deep into their own territory, was big time. That was basically like an interception or a turnover. But you would think that they would have more at this point in time for sure.
You just scrolling Twitter during the game, though, Jay. If you weren't even watching the game, you're just reading Twitter. A lot of these fans, you would have thought the defense had given up 50 points. I mean, it was, and I'm not criticizing the fans. Like, there were some big plays they were giving up, a lot of 3rd and longs and stuff. But then, like I said, you just kind of look down at the stats and you're like, we're here in the 4th quarter and they got 7 points. Like, it just kind of hit me. I was like, they got 7 points. Like,
not even 300 yards of total offense.
No sacks helped. They lost like 80 yards on those sacks or whatever. Yeah,
I get it, man. But okay, even Adam, like I don't know why you would subtract, but even Adam, that's still not a bad effort.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely count. And Hawaii, again, they are. We knew they were abysmal running the ball, but only rushed for 15 yards in this game coming in. They were going to live and die by that run and shoot offense in the pass. And the news does come out last night, Jay. Brett McMurphy, our man Steven Tsai from the Honolulu Star Advertiser, said it last on the pregame show. We had him on the pregame show before the game. He's been covering Hawaii football for 44 years for the newspaper out there, and he said he fully expected them to join the Mountain West in all sports at some point. It just made too much sense. Gives Hawaii more stability, more, within the conference. They felt kind of slighted. They only got the 5% bonus for those payouts that are coming. So they felt like maybe they're, they need to kind of make sure that they're seen as a real legitimate full-time member in this conference. And if that means putting the other teams in there, that they're going to do it. And so it comes out from Brett McMurphy that is indeed going to be the case. Hawaii joining the Mountain West in all sports, if you haven't heard, starting in 2026. What's your first reaction thought on that?
Does their percentage distribution change at all now that they're getting all their sports?
You have to now if they're involved in the basketball revenue and some of the other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case, but then you're going to have to talk with everybody else because those percentages add up to 100. Maybe that's the reason why they added up to 117% initially. I'm just kidding. But you would hope that increases for them. I mean, good move for the Mountain West. As you found out, BJ, better than anybody, that's an interesting travel schedule now for a lot of teams in the league. It's so funny because like even when I was in Georgia, I was like, oh, it's longest road trip of the season and stuff like that. And then it hits you. I'm like, no, Hawaii's actually longer. Like and I don't really worry about it too much, but still that's probably 4.5 hours in the air versus 5.5, almost 6 hours in the air. Right.
And
so
a basketball team or a soccer team or a volleyball team to come all the way over there and play one game. That's not easy.
And on top of that too, like, that's a tough game to charter too, if you're a smaller program. Right.
Oh, you're probably not. Even you're probably
chartering to LA,
probably going commercial.
Yeah, so you might even charter to LA or something like that, but then like you're going to probably jump on a big commercial plane to get out to the island. So, that's interesting from that standpoint. I would, maybe some people like going to Hawaii for games, and that's awesome. But I would also assume that there are probably coaches around the league that look at that and go, man, that's going to be a lot of travel for our players.
You just wish there was a second team out there. You wish there was a second Division I team. I know they have Chaminade, so maybe some teams would do a non-Division I game or play another game out there. And I think, but I mean that's the tough part. You go all the way out there and only can do one game. I mean that's why you see teams come out for the Maui Invitational or the Diamond Head Classic or get more than one game out there. But that is what's tough. But that gives them 8 full-time members now. They're still looking, according to Brett McMurphy, at was it Toledo and Northern Illinois as football-only members, which would still be very odd for those schools, I think, if they did that. But now 8 full-time members, so they can stop if they'd like in terms of needing to add teams, and we'll kind of wait and see what the Mountain West does next. I don't think Hawaii was ever really an option for. I mean, obviously not when they signed, but even before they signed, I don't think they were ever a serious contender to get into the Pac-12, even in just football. I don't think that made a ton of sense.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
stadium,
I don't think full time, maybe football only, but if they were a serious contender, they would have been added at that point.
Yep, and I said this yesterday with Prater, but I mean, it's not Hawaii, it's not the players' fault, it's not the coach's fault, it's not the SID's fault, but it's just a really bad situation with that stadium and with what they're stuck with for the next 3 or 4 years. They're making the best of what they have, but a 15,000 seat stadium, it's a lot for the most part, like the north and south end zone, like those just like, I don't want to say they're temporary seating, but I mean the north end zone and a lot of that stuff with just those what do you call them, like aluminum
Bleachers?
seats and bleachers and things. I mean that's essentially what it is for most of the stadium. They've got one side that does have the cement seating, but I mean it's essentially a little bit bigger version of like College of Idaho's stadium. It's just not ideal for anybody. The football team was Boise State had their dressing room or locker room was one of the baseball team locker rooms, and it was next door in the baseball stadium, and it just wasn't.
And it was just like chairs. The guys didn't even have lockers. It looked like.
No, it was weird. Yeah, it's not ideal. They removed those, I guess. I don't know. There's more room with just chairs. I don't know. But the big question, I'm trying to find where the quote went. There's a rumor that last night Jay Tust was dressed up as the Scarecrow, scaring people out at Farmstead. Let's see where that is. Any truth to the rumor that?
Do I got a straw in my hat still?
I can't find the comment, but somebody said you were a heck of a dad. That you're as good of a dad as you are a media guy. They're giving you some props. They said they don't know if you talked to him or not, but they saw you out at Farmstead last night.
Yeah, we were there. We were playing in the corn and
JT Jonathan Belknap. Jay saw you last night at Farmstead. Jay's a good dad, not just a media mogul.
Well, I'm not. You're right. I'm not a media mogul. Yeah, I had a great time. Hopefully, you had a good time out there, Jonathan. It was a good time. Yeah, love it. It's these little moments during the bye week that normally we don't get, or if we did get there, you'd have one eye on your phone. But last night, for the most part, it was much more easy to escape, I would say. So
the cow train, or what's the big attraction? Okay.
Yep. Collins loves the cow train still. The slides, the bubble thing, obviously the mini donuts. That's all. Yeah, she's actually really into the corn this year. Loves burying her people.
Oh yeah, the corn the corn.
Right?
My boys like the big blow. What do they call it? Like the big bounce thing you bounce on?
Yeah.
The what?
Yeah, whatever those. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's the big thing for them.
We did it all though. It was a lot of fun.
Doing all the stuff that costs extra money, like the apple shooting out of the what do they call that thing? The gun.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I like doing that at least a couple times a year. So
yeah, we need to make it out there. We haven't. It's a little tougher now with the CUNA location.
It's what it is out there, bud. Like how long you've lived in Boise based off of which farm version of the farmstead you prefer or like. Like when it was just off the freeway, I mean that was like a 4-minute drive almost. I mean, it seemed like it. Now you're going all the way out there, and it's like, man, how much longer we gotta go? Like, where's this thing at? But I love it, man. It is a kind of like the hallmark of our fall. Like we always go and we always have fun, and like the bye week was perfectly timed to get after it this year and have some fun with the family. And I'll absolutely take it. We got our pumpkins. You never come back from the farmstead being like, man, we didn't spend that much money. It always adds up. It always adds up out there at the old farmstead, especially if you eat dinner out there. But good.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I like the kettle corn. Big kettle corn guy. Give me some
kettle corn. Good. Like I said, mini donuts, solid.
Yep. Hey, Taco Bell, speaking of food, check them out, tacobellworks.com. They are hiring if you're looking for a job. Great work environment, half the wages after your shift, the next day after your shift. You get free food while you work, great promotional opportunities. So if you're looking for a job, consider one of the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. And again, those cheesy roll-ups, the cantina salads, just great food out there. Rain's family loves going to Taco Bell. We'll see you there soon at Taco Bell. Speaking of jobs, Transportation Compliance Service, they're hiring. Transcompservice.com, or they're helping folks who are hiring get into the trucking industry. So if you're looking to start a new career change, start fresh, get out on the open road, they can help you do that in no time. All the DOT overweight permits, whether you're starting your own trucking company or applying to work for one, let the professionals handle the paperwork and take care of you at Transcom Service. The Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorange.store.com. I was texting with Travis Hawks yesterday. They got a lot of stuff going on at the Blue and Orange Store. They're the only ones in town with the jerseys, the T-shirts, the Heisman shirts. They have the best selection of NIL gear, the best selection of stuff. And don't forget with those hats, I know you know this, Jay, but the Ashton Jeanty designed hats, they've got some left, a pretty slick-looking hat. He gets a portion of that money back to him as an NIL deal. So if you want to get a new era, slick-looking Boise State hat with the designed by Ashton Jeanty himself with the retro logo on it, part of the money goes back to Ashton Jeanty. So if you're liking what you're seeing on the field and you want to support Ashton, the Blue and Orange Store, any of their NIL gear, any of their Heisman shirts, all that, a portion goes back to Ashton, and you can do that at the Blue and Orange Store and the Blue and Orange Store.com. Unfortunately, Jay, we couldn't get the Breezy bundle today. No go for Breezy Dubar in this one against Hawaii due to an injury. So typically on a Tuesday, you got it last week when Breezy Dubar scores, you get a hot dog and a soda for $1 at Jackson's, but no dice on that this week. Hopefully he can get healthy during the bye week and get back out there next week. But on a Monday, I hope you guys enjoyed this yesterday, the 91-cent coffee or fountain drink, thanks to Jackson's for Ahmed Hassanin. And make sure you check out Jackson's, where, again, 25 cents from every hot dog in the Treasure Valley goes to support the Horseshoe Collective. I don't know if people realize that, but every Jackson's all over town, you go buy a hot dog, 25 cents goes right back to the Horseshoe Collective. And so that adds up to a five-figure donation by the end of the season to help put money back in the pockets of these student athletes. Next time you're filling up and you're walking by the hot dog rack there, grab one, because you're helping out Boise State student athletes in the process. Speaking of food, check out our friends at Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com, leanfeastmeridian.com, 10,000 plus combinations. They're feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. Tyson Degenhardt, Ashton Jeanty, Ahmed Hassanin. They're feeding your favorite athletes here. So you want to get fueled up in the healthy way. And again, they now deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley. So no excuse for not eating healthy. And I do want to give a quick shout out as we transition to basketball here to Alex Martin. Was on the team last year with his brother. He's not playing this year. He's focused on what is going to be a lucrative career for him, because this dude is a businessman and he is hustling and he is doing a great job. And we want to give him another shout out. Alex Martin, if you're looking for any kind of lawn care, 208lawnandlandscape.com, 208lawnandlandscape.com, sprinkler blowouts, anything you need done this fall, make sure you check out Alex Martin, support a Bronco. And again, he also rents out these bounce houses. This was our kids at a birthday party over the summer. So if you're looking for a birthday party, thing that'll make it be a big hit, or a church function or whatever, make sure you check out Alex Martin. He's got the lawn and landscape business, and he's also got the bounce houses, 417-629-6832, or check him out online, 208lawnandlandscape.com. All right, Jay, basketball media days kick off. The women will be tomorrow. We'll have Gordy Presnell and a couple of players on Bronco Nation News tomorrow. Thursday, we'll be live for Bronco Nation News starting at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, about 4 hours straight of coverage, and we'll culminate it around 1 o'clock or 12. I think it's 12:30 Mountain Time. Leon Rice and Mark Few for a joint interview on Bronco Nation News. I'm looking forward to that as they transition from the Mountain West to the WCC media days down there. But a lot of storylines. This will be the first media days since the Pac-12 announcement came out, Jay. There'll be a lot of talk about the team, switching conferences and the teams, and obviously the Gonzaga joining will be a big storyline. But I know you turned in your ballot already. I would assume Tyson's going to be the preseason player of the year. I would think he has to be. I would assume Boise State's probably going to be picked first. Just your thoughts, big picture on media days.
Sorry, I was on Hawaii time there too. Sorry, man. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I was trying to save myself with a joke. I think Tyson Degenhardt should be the preseason player of the year, and I think Boise State should be the number one team in the preseason media poll. And I really don't even think that's being biased, but you really go through and you split hairs everywhere. And when it comes to like known commodities coming back to a respective program, I just think that your safest bet is putting Boise State in the top spot. Tyson Degenhardt, Omar Stanley, Alvaro Cardenas, those are all guys too that I would expect to push for, other preseason honors. So we'll have to wait and see. Wait's almost over, but yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Boise State's got a chance to have a really good basketball season.
The KenPom rankings are out, and I know a lot of people are saying, I'm tuned out to that. I'm not focused on that this year because last year we looked at it all year, and then it didn't matter for the tournament. I hate to say it, but I mean, the KenPom numbers do matter, and I know that There was some, obviously last year, Boise State, Mountain West fans felt slighted with their selection of where they finished up. But, every committee, every year, there's different members and people, they look at things differently. And the analytics, the metrics are a big part of this. And so Boise State checks in at number 45 to start the year at KenPom. It's the highest ranking in the Mountain West. And you may say, okay, 45, that's not that great. If you look at where they've started in previous years, it actually really is, Jay, because they have typically been a team that has way overperformed, their numbers. They get better as the season goes on, as everybody knows, and then those numbers look pretty good. But the last 3 seasons, again, 3 years where they made the tournament, they started at 62 last year. They started at 85 2 years ago, and they started at 80 in 2022, the year before that. So you're talking 3 years in a row starting outside the top 60, still getting into that 20-30 range and making the tournament. Now they're starting at 45. And again, these metrics really can't account for a Dylan Anderson, for a Javen Buchanan, an Andrew Meadow who's going to take a step forward. Like the fact that they start 45 based largely on Alvaro Cardenas, Stanley and Degenhart, I think that's a really nice sign metrics-wise for Boise State moving forward here.
I think their reputation is starting to follow them, BJ. And I know that, that's something that's subjective, but that KenPom really dives into some of this stuff with his metrics, and it's a great spot to be in because it already is suggesting that they're a bubble team. They're on the cusp of making an NCAA tournament, right? So it's a good spot for them to be in, and I would expect them to be in the thick of this thing this year. Another thing that kind of stood out to me when looking at it, though, BJ, is, man, I don't know if you want to call the Mountain West top heavy or bottom heavy, but there are 7 teams in the top 94, really, and there are 4 teams in the bottom 200. So there's not much in between, which means there's going to be an opportunity for some really good wins this year. But there's also going to be those opportunities if you have a bad night for some really, really bad, resume type crushing losses this year. So those are certainly the nights that you better be on at least enough to, squeak out a 21-point win at Hawaii or something like that.
All right. I highly recommend everybody pay the $20, whatever it is, and subscribe to KenPom. I think it's highly worth it. Just to give you kind of a quick sneak peek again, and I do this as a plug because I think you really should sign up and pay for KenPom. It's worth it. But Jay, again, when you put it together, it's not the same. But when you look at each individual game to start the season, Boise State is projected to start the season 16-0. And if you put each game's probability together, it won't be 16. Like you say, he's projecting them to go 16-0. No, he's not. He's just saying in each individual game, he's projecting them to win. Now, the San Francisco game on the road is only a 1-point win. The Clemson game is only a 1-point win. There's some really, really close ones on here. St. Mary's is a 1-point win. So you factor all that in, you're not going to, the percentages are you don't win all 3 of those games. But you look at it individually here, there is a really nice chance, especially if they can get a couple of those wins in those big games that, maybe unlike a couple of the past years, Jay, where they lost some games early. If they can find a way to beat Clemson at home, going to San Francisco is a really tricky, sneaky, hard game, the second game of the season. But if you can go over to St. Mary's and somehow find a way to win that game, there's a real potential that, this team's going to be able to get a lot of wins racked up, and especially early in conference play. And you look at that San Diego State game on January 4th on Big CBS. They could be, 15-2 or 16-1, or they could potentially have a really good record and probably be ranked going into that matchup.
And going into this Mountain West this season, I still think the league's going to be good, but it's not going to be what it was last year where they're going to threaten to get 6 teams in, right? So if you're going in 16-1, 15-2, you're going to be a team that, come Selection Sunday might only have, 6-7 losses on their resume, and at that point in time, like, you're almost guaranteed to be in the mix or in the thick of that, right? Another thing that stands out to me, BJ, there's only one game where they're not favored to win that's more than in the -1, right? Is that right? Is that correct?
There was it's at San Diego State, lose by 3.
Yeah, but outside of that, even the games where they're not predicted to win, it's not by more than 1 point.
Yep, at Utah State, lose by 1. At New Mexico, lose by 1. At Colorado State, lose by 1. At Nevada, lose by 1. And then, at San Diego State, lose by 3.
Going to be a great basketball season. And I said this prior to football season about Ashton Jeanty. Buy season tickets to go watch that dude. And I'm going to say it before basketball season about another guy that wears number 2. Go buy season tickets to watch Tyson Degenhart, because years from now, we're going to be talking about the greatest Bronco to ever put on the blue and orange. He's got a chance to be the all-time leading scorer in program history. He's already taken them to 3 straight NCAA tournaments with a chance to go to a 4th. He's been a part of a team that won a Mountain West tournament title, won a regular season conference title. I mean, this guy's done everything since he's been at Boise State, and now he's a senior. And he's got Omar Stanley that's healthy. He's got Alvaro Cardenas. He's got other young guys that complement him on this roster. I think that this is your opportunity to go see it feels weird calling him a living legend, because I don't want to call him a legend yet and put any pressure or anything on that. But like, there's no doubt one day when he's done playing, he's going to be one of the best, not just for basketball, but one of the best to ever play any sport whatever at Boise State.
At some point, I know they can't do it because there's something to do with the arena owning, or the university owning the arena and all this, but at some point, I mean, they need to put some numbers up in the rafters at Extra Mile Arena, and when they decide to do it, yeah, there's a good chance Tyson Degenhart's going to be one of those in the first inaugural group of people that ends up going up there. But just to show you what I was talking about, Jay, so they're only projected, if you look at each individual game, to lose 5 games. But the overall projected record is 21-8. So the way they put the algorithm in there, folks, is it's just, when you're projected to win 5 games by 1 point, you're probably not going to win all 5 games that you're projected to win by 1. So the overall record is 21-8. But you do look at these individual matchups, and as you said, Jay, there are a lot of swing games on here. I mean, there's a lot of games where you look at my Kansas Jayhawk football team, like they had 4 leads in the 4th quarter, lost them all, and they went, instead of being 5-1, they're 1-5 or whatever it is. Like that Clemson game, that San Francisco game, that Washington State, St. Mary's. Like, I know people want to bag on the schedule a little bit, Jay, like that tournament, a couple of teams backed out down in the Cayman Islands. That's not going to be a super impressive tournament. Like, I get it. They're playing Texas Southern, Hampton, Corbin, some of these teams that people want to complain about. But overall, like, you got 4 quality games when you look at the numbers here. San Francisco's a top 100 road team. That's quad 2, maybe a chance to get to quad 1 if they get to 75. Clemson, 24 at KenPom coming into that game is going to be massive. St. Mary's, 34. Like, you're talking about 3 top 35 opponents in the non-con, and these are winnable games too. You're either at home or in Idaho Falls. So they really do have a chance. The schedule is a very nice schedule this year. I know some folks would like maybe a few more name opponents, I guess, but I think St. Mary's, Washington State, Clemson, and San Francisco is a nice, nucleus to build around in the non-conference.
And I think what you have to do as well, scheduling and figuring out these metrics is an ever-evolving thing. You really have to figure out what's going to give yourself the best chance come Selection Sunday. And, there's some things that you can control. There's also some things you can't control. And that, like you said about the teams that committed to going to the Cayman Islands, like there's nothing that you can do about some teams pulling out of that tournament, unless you want to pull out and go find another one. But that's way too late to try to figure that out, in my opinion. So, you have to figure out what's going to be best for you come Selection Sunday. And, the opportunity to go 16-1, 15-2 with a few top 35 teams in the KenPom. I think that's a pretty good preseason if you can do that.
BSU Bill says one thing he noticed, guys, is no walk-ons. There are walk-ons on the roster. They just don't add them to the roster right away. They're actually in transition with a new sports information director as well, so there may be a little bit of lag on some of the announcements and things. But no, they have walk-ons. Those are guys that just help with practice time. They don't, do anything else to hurt the roster. It says, are they keeping a smaller, better roster? No, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Walk-ons, I don't think, determine if your team's good or not. They're just guys that are there to mostly practice and be team players. And yes, they'll have some walk-ons. Those guys will get added. Are you doing the AP Top 25 again?
Back in it. Yep.
Were you one of the 14 votes that Boise State got?
I was not.
Oh, that's a good sign. I mean, that's actually a good sign that there's Tyree. I didn't say that to call you out. I don't know if I'd have him in there to begin with either. That's a good sign that they're getting some votes, and that's another vote that at some point they could add.
It's another thing that's very encouraging, and honestly, BJ, straight up, man, it kind of surprised me that they got 14. I'm not gonna lie, because Mountain West school, like it just kind of is what it is. But the fact that I think this is the first time that I even had, been doing it for 3 years now. I think. When did you give it up? 3 years.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Whenever I left the paper to go to BNN.
Yeah. I don't love it, but it is what it is. And in my 3 years,
there's a massive paycheck, and there's so much great things that come with it. All the fan bases that rip you every week, and it's so awesome.
So awesome. But this is like the first time that I think I've ever like really had them in that group where it's just like, okay, let's just break all this down and see who's coming back and project and whatnot. And they're not far, man. Like if they get it on a run in the it's not going to be like in years past, in my opinion. Maybe it's different. I don't know. But if they take care of business in the preseason, like they'll be ranked going into Mountain West Conference play. It's not going to be like, can they get a couple of big road wins in Mountain West Conference play and barely tip into the top 25 at 25? Like this team's close enough where if they start to do some damage in the preseason or in the non-conference portion of the schedule, I mean, if they're sitting there without a loss on Christmas Day, BJ, they might be ranked.
Oh, I'd be ranked before that probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's starting at 45 is a massive deal. Like I said, if you look at their numbers, Jay, I don't have it right in front of me, but their average increase is like over 20 spots a year at KenPom. And a lot of years it's been significantly more than that. I mean, they finish 30, 40, 50 spots higher than the metrics have them starting out almost every year. And so if they're starting at 45, a traditional Leon Rice team shows you that they're going to continue to improve upon that number as the season goes on. So
yeah,
Jay,
I was gonna say too, another thing, some of the stuff too, like whether it be KenPom or other rankings, net, any of that stuff, like those rankings do kind of matter, I would say, especially when it comes to formulating the opinions of voters. Yeah. And so the more and more that information becomes available, as Boise State continues to climb, that's only going to help them gain more and more recognition.
Yeah, it's like, they got a nice win against Clemson, but they're 65 at KenPom or whatever. No, now it's they beat Clemson. Let me look. Oh, they're 31 at KenPom.
Yeah.
Okay, that's worth putting them in. Like, that matters. Yeah. No doubt. Jay, appreciate your time as always. Again, BNN will have coverage tomorrow and Thursday at Basketball Media Days. I think Brad Bedell's still going to join us tomorrow morning. We'll talk mostly football, even though I'll be in Las Vegas. And then, Jay, Friday we'll wrap it up and maybe talk a little more Mountain West football. And I know maybe get UNLV and talk about their matchup coming up. Jeff Choate doing things down there at Nevada. So maybe we'll talk a little Mountain West football on Friday with no Boise State game this weekend. But appreciate you as always, Jay. And we will be following What do we got? KTVB, kind of a weird week with the bye, but a lot of prep coverage. Or what else we got going on KTVB this week?
Dialing up some prep coverage this week, that's for sure. We only got 2 more guaranteed weeks of Friday night football left. So, yeah.
You seem sad to hear that. You seem sad to say that.
I'm sad to say that, man. It's something I love to see come, but I'm not like everything adds up this time of year, and those Friday nights are long, and the Saturday mornings are very early. Let's just say that. So,
BSU Bill, final question.
Vegas, man, or back from Hawaii, getting down to Vegas. Look at you. Yeah,
I wish it was next week. We could have just done this and stayed in Vegas for the game.
That would have been better.
It's Wednesday, Thursday game on Friday. It would have been absolutely perfect, but we're not that lucky. So, always enjoy it. I really, the Mountain West has a lot of good coaches. Like I've talked to these guys. I wouldn't say gotten to know them, but I've become working relationship, I guess, with the Lindy stuff over the summer and get these guys in the shows like the Richard Patinos, the Steve Alfords, the Nico Medveds of the world. Even like a Brian Dutcher is a great guy to chat with. So, and then the ones they've added, Sundance Wicks at Wyoming. Like there's some big time personalities in this league. So I think it's going to be fun to get down there and chat with those guys. BSU Bill, last question, asking about Buchanan or Meadow. Who's going to start at the 2? Anderson is for sure starting at the 5. I would believe Javen Buchanan has the inside track to start there. They went out and got him, gave him some NIL money. That was a big-time addition. They really like what they're getting from Buchanan, but I think Meadow is easily the 6th man and will have a huge role on this team this year. So plenty of basketball coverage to come from Vegas, football coverage as well. Jay, appreciate you. Make sure, folks, that you're watching. KTVB this week for all their coverage of preps and BSU and everything else. Make sure you listen to KTIK at 3 o'clock today, our other partner here on BNN. And then we'll talk to you from Vegas at 9 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow, I believe, maybe 10. check with us. Maybe 10 o'clock tomorrow, actually, once we get over and get set up at the media day. So let's just say it right now, 10 a.m. Mountain Time for tomorrow's show. Appreciate you, Jay. Thanks to all of our subscribers. Thanks to all of our viewers. Thank you, guys. Please like and subscribe this video before you get out of here, and we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live, Bronco Nation News.